The 1950s were a remarkable decade for Britain. The war was over, the country was rebuilding, and a new sense of optimism was beginning to appear on Britain's roads. For the first time in years, owning a car was becoming a realistic dream for more families, and the British motor industry was ready. Across the country, factories were producing elegant saloons with chrome grills, large windows, comfortable seats, and engines designed for everything from daily commuting to long journeys across the country. Some were practical family cars. Others were aimed at businessmen, professionals, government officials, and wealthy motorists who wanted something more refined. But there was something else happening. The cars that seemed permanent at the time would not remain permanent forever. Companies would merge, model names would disappear, new designs would replace old ones, and increasing competition would slowly change Britain's motor industry forever. Today, we're going back to that fascinating decade and counting down 10 British saloons that ruled the 1950s, and discovering why they eventually vanished. And stay with us, because by the time we reach number 1, we'll arrive at a car that helped change Britain's reputation for luxury motoring around the world. Let's begin.
Number 10. Our countdown begins with the Standard Vanguard. The Vanguard had already established itself before the 1950s, but during the decade, it became one of Standard's most important saloons. It was designed to look modern and substantial, with styling influenced by the larger American cars that were becoming increasingly popular around the world. Inside, there was plenty of room for passengers, making it suitable for British families who wanted something larger and more comfortable. The Vanguard was also important for another reason. Standard was thinking internationally. The company wanted the Vanguard to succeed not just in Britain, but in export markets where British cars were becoming increasingly desirable. That meant the car had to offer comfort, durability, and enough performance for long-distance driving. Later versions received improved engines and updated styling, keeping the model competitive as the decade progressed. For many owners, the Vanguard represented something Britain desperately wanted in the post-war years: progress. But Standard was fighting against manufacturers with much greater resources. As the British motor industry began consolidating, Standard's independence became increasingly difficult to maintain. The Vanguard eventually disappeared, and the Standard name itself would soon become part of Britain's automotive history. But another British manufacturer was about to build a saloon with an even stronger connection to authority.
Number 9. Wolseley 690. The Wolseley 690 was introduced at the beginning of the 1950s as a large and respectable British saloon. Its upright styling, distinctive grille, and illuminated Wolseley badge gave it an unmistakable appearance. But underneath that traditional exterior was a capable 6-cylinder engine. The 690 offered more performance than many ordinary family cars, while its interior provided the comfort expected from a more expensive British saloon. And there was one reason the Wolseley became particularly memorable. The police liked them. Wolseley saloons became associated with British police forces, where their performance and solid construction made them useful for official duties. That gave the car a very different image from an ordinary family saloon. For private buyers, owning one could provide a little of that same sense of prestige. But the 690 belonged to an older school of British engineering. By the middle of the decade, buyers were beginning to expect more modern styling, better packaging, and increasingly sophisticated engineering. Wolseley continued with new models, but the 690 eventually disappeared. Its badge survived. Its particular place in British motoring did not. And while Wolseley represented traditional British respectability, the next car was becoming something much more familiar on Britain's everyday roads.
At number 8 is the Morris Oxford. The Oxford was never supposed to be the most exciting car in Britain. That was exactly the point. It was practical, comfortable, affordable, and easy to live with. The Oxford became one of the familiar sights of 1950s Britain. It could be seen outside family homes, parked near factories, traveling through busy town centers, and heading down country roads on weekends. For ordinary motorists, a car like the Oxford offered something incredibly important: freedom. Families could travel further, people could commute to work, and holidays no longer had to depend entirely on trains and buses. The Oxford was part of that transformation. During the 1950s, Morris became part of the expanding British Motor Corporation, bringing several famous British marques together. The Oxford name continued into new generations, eventually receiving much more modern styling. That meant the older Oxford gradually disappeared from Britain's roads, but the name survived because the idea behind it worked. The Oxford had become a dependable part of British life, and the next car followed a similar path, but with a much more American-inspired appearance. Number 7. Austin A40 Somerset. Introduced in 1952, the Austin A40 Somerset brought a new look to Austin's family car range. Compared with the earlier A40 Devon, the Somerset had much more rounded styling. Its wide chrome grille and curved bodywork reflected the influence of American automotive design, giving the car a more modern appearance. Underneath was a 1.2-liter four-cylinder engine. It wasn't designed to be a sports car. The Somerset was about comfortable, everyday motoring. For British families beginning to enjoy greater prosperity, it offered a respectable way to travel. And there was something symbolic about it. The Somerset belonged to a Britain that was slowly moving away from wartime austerity. People wanted better homes, better holidays, better roads, and better cars. The Austin A40 Somerset became part of that changing lifestyle. But its time was short. Austin was already developing newer designs, and the A40 name would continue in completely different forms. The Somerset eventually disappeared, but its rounded shape remains a familiar reminder of early 1950s British motoring. And if the Somerset represented comfortable family motoring, the next car was aimed at people looking for something considerably more exclusive.
At number 6 is the Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire. This was a very different kind of British saloon. Armstrong Siddeley never had the enormous production numbers of Austin, Morris, or Ford. Instead, it occupied a more exclusive part of the market. The Sapphire offered formal styling, plenty of chrome, a large grille, and a luxurious interior. Different versions used six-cylinder engines, providing smooth performance for the kind of motorists who wanted something more refined. The car appealed particularly to professionals, businessmen, and wealthy private buyers. There was also something attractive about its individuality. If an Austin or Morris was the obvious choice, an Armstrong Siddeley suggested that the owner wanted something different. But exclusivity could also become a weakness. The company was producing cars on a much smaller scale than Britain's biggest manufacturers. That made development and production more expensive. And as competition increased during the 1950s, remaining independent became increasingly difficult. Armstrong Siddeley continued producing cars into the early 1960s, but eventually its automobile business came to an end. The Sapphire vanished with it. Today, it is one of those names that many people have forgotten. But for a brief period, it represented one of Britain's most distinctive ideas of luxury. And next, we move to a car that represented status in a much larger way.
Number 5. Humber Super Snipe.
Halfway through our countdown is the Humber Super Snipe. This was a car built for people who wanted space, comfort, and presence. The Super Snipe was larger than the average British family saloon and used powerful six-cylinder engines. Inside, there was generous seating, quality materials, and enough room to make long journeys considerably more comfortable. The car became especially attractive to businessmen and professionals. A Super Snipe parked outside a hotel or office immediately suggested success. But it wasn't simply about appearance. The Super Snipe was a capable long-distance car, designed to cross Britain's roads with the relaxed character expected from a large luxury saloon. The problem was that the world was changing. Smaller cars were becoming increasingly important. Manufacturers were becoming more interested in rationalizing their model ranges, and competition was no longer limited to traditional British rivals. The Humber brand continued under the Roots Group, but its independent identity gradually became less important. Eventually, the Super Snipe disappeared. Yet for many enthusiasts, it remains one of the clearest examples of traditional British post-war luxury. And the next car proved that you didn't necessarily need a prestigious badge to build a successful six-cylinder saloon.
At number 4 is the Vauxhall Velox. During the 1950s, the Velox became one of Vauxhall's best-known larger saloons. Its six-cylinder engine gave it respectable performance, while the spacious cabin made it suitable for families and business users. But perhaps the most interesting part of the Velox story was how dramatically its appearance changed during the decade. Early versions still carried the conservative look of the immediate post-war period. Later cars became wider, cleaner, and more modern. Larger windows and changing body shapes reflected the rapidly evolving tastes of British motorists. The Velox also benefited from Vauxhall's connection with General Motors. American design and engineering influences were becoming increasingly visible, and Vauxhall was able to bring some of those ideas into the British market. For buyers, the Velox offered a useful combination. It was comfortable enough for family life, respectable enough for business, and powerful enough to feel more exciting than a basic saloon. But even successful cars eventually reached the end of their lives. New Vauxhall models arrived, and the Velox name disappeared. Vauxhall continued. The Velox became history. And now we come to a car that helped make Ford an even bigger force on Britain's roads.
At number 3 is the Ford Zephyr. When the Zephyr appeared in the early 1950s, it brought a different kind of confidence to the British saloon market. It was larger, more powerful, and more modern-looking than many of the traditional cars around it. The six-cylinder engine provided strong performance for its class, while the spacious cabin made it suitable for families and professionals. The Zephyr quickly became a familiar sight, and its smaller relative, the Zodiac, added even more luxury and equipment. Together, they helped create a new idea of the British family saloon. A car didn't have to be purely practical. It could also be stylish. It could have performance. It could make the owner feel successful. Ford also had something many smaller British manufacturers didn't have: huge resources. The company could invest heavily in production, development, and new models. That allowed Ford to compete aggressively as Britain's car market expanded. The Zephyr name eventually disappeared as Ford reorganized its range, but the influence of the car remained. Ford was becoming one of the dominant forces in British motoring. And there was one British manufacturer that had been quietly building an entirely different kind of reputation.
At number 2 is the Rover P4. For many enthusiasts, the P4 represents the classic British executive saloon. Its upright design, distinctive grille, leather interior, and conservative character gave it an unmistakable personality. The P4 was never about showing off. It was about respectability. Inside, the emphasis was on comfort and quality. Later versions used six-cylinder engines, giving the car enough performance for Britain's expanding road network while maintaining its refined character. The P4 became popular with professionals and families who wanted something dependable and prestigious. It also developed a strong connection with Britain's establishment. Government officials, business people, and motorists who valued tradition were drawn to its quiet dignity. But the P4's traditional styling could not remain forever. Rover needed newer designs to compete in a rapidly changing market. The company eventually moved toward more modern cars, and P4 production ended in the 1960s. But its importance was already secure. The P4 helped establish Rover as a respected British executive car manufacturer. And now, finally, we reach the car.
At number 1 is the Jaguar Mark VII. Introduced in 1950, the Mark VII immediately changed perceptions of what a British luxury saloon could be. It was large, it was elegant, but most importantly, it was fast. Under the bonnet was Jaguar's famous 3.4-liter XK straight-six engine. This was the same engine family that had already earned an impressive reputation in Jaguar sports cars. Now, that performance was being placed inside a luxurious four-door saloon. The result was something special. The Mark VII offered leather seating, wood trim, spacious accommodation, and the kind of comfort expected from a premium British car. But it could also move, and that was the difference. The Mark VII wasn't simply a chauffeur-driven luxury car. The owner could get behind the wheel and enjoy the performance himself. It combined two things that had often been separated: luxury and excitement. That combination helped Jaguar attract attention far beyond Britain. The Mark VII became an important part of Jaguar's international success, proving that Britain could build a luxury saloon capable of competing with far more expensive European cars. As the decade progressed, Jaguar developed the Mark VIII and Mark IX, improving the formula even further. Eventually, the original Mark VII disappeared, but its influence remained. It helped create the image of Jaguar as a manufacturer capable of building cars that were elegant, luxurious, and genuinely fast.
And that's why it takes our #1 position. Not because it was the biggest, not because it was the most expensive, but because it helped define the modern British luxury saloon.
The 1950s gave Britain some truly unforgettable saloons. Many disappeared, but their stories still live on in classic car history. Which one would you bring back? The Jaguar Mark VII, Rover P4, or Humber Super Snipe? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to Britain Motor Vault for more forgotten British cars and motoring history. Thanks for watching.